Hello guys, as always, thanks for tuning in. Jay Helmsing here. Today we're going to cover the Beretta 92G Elite LTT, but before we get that party started, I do want to put out a little bit of information about my background with the Beretta 92. I am somewhat of a self-confessed Beretta 92 fanboy, so I do want to put that bias out there at the beginning. I like the platform, so my opinion on this gun is going to be maybe a little bit swayed toward that end. I'll tell you also that my first foray with the Beretta 92 series started with the M9 way back in 1999, and when I first laid hands on this gun, I pretty much hated it. I hated it mostly because I was in the Army, and this is all we had. We couldn't really pick anything else, so of course everything else looks better when you can't choose what you're using. And the ones that I was handling were just beat like rented mules because they were military weapons and thrown back on the rack. So obviously I've seen the horror stories, the problems that these can develop, the trigger spring breaking, the locking block breaking, all that kind of stuff, turning these things into a one-shot musket as far as racking every time you shoot, all kinds of crazy stuff. And of course me as, Private Helmsing way back in 1999, I thought, hey, that gun is just a pile of junk because it doesn't fire all the time. Little did I know that most of that is attributed to the fact that the military does not maintain its weapons, especially its pistols, very well, and that was what I was kind of seeing there. So over time, in using this platform, I have kind of grown to like the platform, and it's one of my top guns now. If I were to pick a gun that I had to continue the rest of my life with, it would be way up there toward the top as far as my overall selection there. So with that said, I think I've done a little bit of research and some soul searching into why I kind of gravitate toward this gun. Maybe it's nostalgia. Some people like those 1911s because that's the first gun they shot in the military. For me, for this generation, our 1911 is kind of this 92 series here. There may be a little nostalgia involved there, but I really think the real deep connection that I have with this gun is that if I were to have a spirit animal in the gun world, I believe it would be the Beretta 92 series. For a variety of reasons. The first thing, obviously it's got German lineage, just like my last name there. I've got some German lineage. That's where we came, where we immigrated from. But it more directly has Italian lineage, and my grandma was directly off of the boat Italian, a World War II bride. So I do have those kind of, same sort of bloodlines, I guess you'd say, as the Beretta here. Now made in America, so, USA made, so just like me. It reached its pinnacle of coolness back in the 90s, much like myself. It's just a little bit portly. I really wouldn't say it's overweight. It's just kind of big for, today's standards. And, hey, I'm kind of getting up there in age, and so that's kind of the way that I am. Could obviously lose a few pounds here and there. This could probably be lighter. We're kind of the same there. We have the same issues there. Not necessarily out of shape, but just kind of not really as thin and svelte as we once were, right? It also has some quirks about it. You just have to learn how to live with them. There's some issues with this gun. You just kind of learn how to live with it, and I have had, my wife tell me that several times. So I guess I could be kind of a difficult person to live with at times. You got to kind of have a flavor for me. You got to have a flavor and kind of an appreciation for this gun as well, because there are better options out there. Much like me, you guys settled here, but hey, there are probably better options out there. You could be spending your time somewhere else. I appreciate that you're sticking with me. So kind of like the Beretta 92, that's the way I see it. Just my kind of deep-rooted connection there, my philosophical connection to these guns. Take it for what it's worth. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's maybe how we can kind of relate to each other at least. So the star of this show, the Beretta 92G Elite LTT. As you guys may know, this was crafted by the input of Ernest Langdon with Langdon Tactical. That's what the LTT, Langdon Tactical Technology, stands for. Now, a lot of people think this is kind of like a custom-built gun or some kind of hot-rodded gun, and it's really not that really at all. It's kind of just a mixture of off-the-shelf parts that were put together in a way that was spec'd by Ernest Langdon. So we'll kind of get into this bad boy top to bottom, and I will tell you guys before we get too far into this, this does have the Ernest Langdon Tactical trigger job in it. So if you go through Ernest Langdon, his company there, Langdon Tactical, you can source this directly from them with a trigger job, and that is what I have in this bad boy. And let me tell you, it is absolutely astounding. Okay, now let's go ahead and dive into this bad boy top to bottom. Let's take a look first at the sights. So these sights are nice competition sights. You have a nice red fiber optic front with a blacked out rear, and that rear has a nice square, very generous wide notch, so you can easily pick up that front sight. And now what I have noticed with these sights is it's going to be point of aim, point of impact is going to be the very top of that front ledge. So just like your traditional Glock sight picture, whereas some of these Beretta 92s, it's going to be more of a combat sight picture, so wherever the dot is where your impact is going to be. Not so on this gun, so this has more of a competition or a target style pattern there for the sights. Really nice to see, really nice addition, probably the nicest Beretta sights, at least on 92s, that I've shot out of the factory. So very nice to see those as an addition here. They're also flat in the front. If you want to do those manipulations, you're able to do that. Moving on with the rest of the gun. So basically what we have here for the layout of the gun itself, you have a Beretta M9A1 lower half and you have a Beretta Vertec slide. So with the Vertec slide, you also get the dovetails, the front and rear, that allow you to have those nice competition sights in there, allow you to change out the sights if you want to go to like a tritium or something like that, and allow you to replace them if something gets banged up or narfed up. Now, again, with the older guns, you really can't do that with a front sight, so that's just going to kind of be built into the slide itself, and if it gets narfed up or if you don't like that sight picture, there's not a lot of options there, which is kind of one of the quirks I was talking about with these guns. Not so on this, so very modern, you're able to change out your sights there if you want to. Along with this Vertec slide, you're also going to get these front serrations there. Now this was not on the Vertec model, this is specific to this model here, kind of in the lineage there of the older Elite guns. They also had those front serrations. So if you like to do your manipulations up front, you have those serrations that enable you to do that, no problem. They're the exact same, they're cut on the back, they're just in the front there. So another nice addition there for this gun. I don't use them too often myself, but it's nice to kind of have the option if I want to. These guns only come in the G decocker version, so you're not going to find one with the safety. These all decock just like that, and I typically replace mine. If I don't have a G model, I will put that kit in there, and that's basically what you have here. There's no other machining or anything that makes that a decocker version. That is basically just the conversion kit that's put in there from the factory. So that's something that you can do on your other guns, or if you have done it on your other guns, it's going to be one and the same with what you get here. The other addition is going to kind of be this barrel here. So this barrel is going to be basically identical to the older Elite barrels. It's kind of cut off, so it's a little bit shorter in the front there, and it's also got a nice target crown, as you might be able to see there. So again, it doesn't come out nearly as far as the other Berettas. You see how far that protrudes out the end. So this one was kind of cut back and crowned, and again, this is just like the older target barrel that you're going to get in those Elite models, so kind of following along in that lineage. Rounding out this top half, we're going to have this traditional Elite hammer. So this was still in production by Beretta. A lot of people were kind of adding that to their guns. Kind of a nice little upgrade because first off, it looks cool, and as we know, looks are a lot of what sells these products. And the other half is they say that it makes the gun cycle a little bit faster. You probably have to be a cyborg to actually realize that. But these, in theory, make the gun cycle a little bit faster. So maybe for competition shooting, things like that, skeletonized hammer might be something you want to go with. And moving on with the lower half of the gun here, before I get too far gone here, we'll talk about the color coordination. So this is a metal gun. So as we look at this lower half, you're going to have the metal trigger, you're going to have the metal guide rod, you're also going to have the metal mag release, which we'll get into here in just a moment. So it doesn't have those plastic parts that some of the newer guns were coming out with, as far as the guide rod and the trigger and all that kind of stuff. So those are also going to be color coordinated, as you guys see there. There's kind of have that nickel finish or that inox finish to match the barrel and the grip screws and the guide rod in the front there. Just to kind of, pay homage to that older Elite style, that two-tone look that they used to have. So kind of have some nice little stainless bits in there as well. Now again, the trigger is metal. The grip screws are going to be the traditional hex type, which I really don't favor. I kind of like the slotted because they're a lot less likely to strip out. But I haven't had any issues with these yet, so fingers crossed that may be something they've kind of fixed. The grips are also something that really stands out on this gun. These are going to be sourced by VZ, and they're actually Langdon Tactical grips. You can buy them off their website long before this gun came out. These are actually going to be called the Tactical Diamonds from VZ grip, but they're kind of a little bit modified, so they've been cut up just a little bit higher than what you're going to get with the traditional tactical diamond grips. They also have the logo there, the LTT logo, and these are a thin version, so as you guys can see just how thin they are. You got that kind of hourglass profile if you look at it head on. Just very nice contoured and a very, very nice ergonomic grip there. So really appreciate the grips. That's probably something else that I would add myself if it didn't come that way. And along with the M9A1, you're going to get that checkering on the back, the checkering on the front there, so nice and grippy. And you're also going to get that accessory rail with the one slot there, the one Picatinny slot, again, just like on the M9A1. Now, a new addition with this gun is the beveling here on the trigger guard. So that is specific to the Elite LTT They kind of just put a little bit of a bevel here to keep you guys from developing that knuckle, which some of you may have realized if you shoot these a lot and just have a really high grip. As you're pulling it out of a holster, it's kind of easy to start narfing up your finger there. Well, this is nice and contoured to avoid that. So kind of a nice little addition there. Mag release is going to be the same thing. You're going to see that extended version as you would have on the M9A3. So it's kind of another little trick there they pulled out of the factory and put in there. Very, very nice as far as the controls are concerned. Very nice gun. And of course, we'll round this out with the lower half here. That does have the M9A1 beveling, so for the magwell, you got a nice kind of beveled magwell. It's not that square design like you have on some of the older Beretta 92s, and they do not have the lanyard loop, so it's a nice flush cap down here for your mainspring. So again, really, really nice additions. If I were to source this pistol, that's kind of the way I'd have it set up. The only drawback that I see with this is they kind of ship with a cheaper version, you know, just the old kind of traditional 15-round magazines. In some of these competition things that you shoot it in, like in a production class or something like that, you can only load these to 10 anyway, not a big deal. But of course, Beretta does offer 17-round capacity with the more modern guns. So you can get those, you know, the M9A3 coming with those 17-round magazines, whereas these come with the cheaper, and I believe it's only 2 mags in this. So kind of cutting corners on the mags, but you know, if you're really a competition shooter, you may end up changing that out anyway. But that is really the only drawback as far as this package is concerned that I see or that I've noticed with it. So when we talk about shooting impressions with this gun, I'm not going to insult your intelligence and make it sound like you have never fired a Beretta 92. Now, maybe some of you have not, but these things are in such production. There's so many variants out there that you've probably shot a Beretta 92 at some point. This is pretty much the same as shooting any other Beretta 92. There's really not a whole lot different. You're not going to notice a bunch of differences with it. It's just kind of built up, and it has those extra features that you'd want to add directly out of the box. So shooting this is not necessarily a magical experience. There's nothing new as far as when I shoot this or when I grab this or when I point this gun. It just kind of has all the right parts in all the right places that kind of make those, those drills and things like that work a little bit more smoothly. And, this is kind of the decked out or the deluxe version of the Beretta 92. As somebody that's shot the Beretta 92 quite a bit, you're going to have a very, very, very flat shooting gun. The way the locking block works in these, they drop down into the frame, and basically if you look at the barrel itself, it does not tilt. So it's going to move back just a little bit and then stay nice and flat. So that muzzle rise is very well mitigated. The gun itself is heavy to kind of aid in that. Other than that, you can shoot this gun very fast and very, very accurately, especially with those sights the way they are. It's just really kind of, like I say, the pinnacle of 92 design. So if you like the way the 92 shoots, if you shoot a 92 well, this is only going to enhance it. Other than that, if you're looking for this to be some kind of crazy race gun, it really isn't. It really isn't built up to be a race gun. It's just kind of a nicely put together Beretta 92. So that's kind of my take on it. We'll look at some shooting footage next. And it's really not too bad at distance either. And of course, with that beveled magwell, you're going to be able to make those magazine changes fairly quickly. So in a nutshell, my opinion on the shootability or the shooting performance of this gun is very, very commendable. I really like shooting a Beretta 92 in general. I really like the way it feels. This gun is no slouch. It's got all those add-ons. It's just kind of the ultimate 92 out of the box. So thumbs way up on shootability of this gun. Next, we'll talk a little bit about reliability. I've got now about 550 rounds through this specific gun. I have zero malfunctions, zero issues, and I kind of expected that going into it because, again, it is a Beretta 92. Even though it's decked out, it's kind of know what to expect. It's got the newer locking block in it, so you're not going to have those issues with those breaking. Just like most of our guns nowadays, the things that traditionally have broken have been rectified and fixed. So as far as that goes, the Beretta 92 in my experience is one of the more reliable guns out there. So I don't expect you to have any issues, any malfunctions with these guns or to have anything like that. Now I have noticed with some of these guns, some of the more modern Berettas, there are a few times here and there where they're just kind of put together. I don't want to say sloppily put together, but there are a few times where I've seen them put together and it just kind of looks like, really? If you guys looked at my M9A3 video, my original M9A3 video, one of the pins for the locking block did not go all the way in, and it kind of scored up the frame a little bit because it was just put in the gun with that, you know, with the barrel with the pin sticking out. So I did find that and fixed it. On this gun, the sights when I first got it were not necessarily lined up, so this rear sight was drifted kind of far right. I did have to recenter those sights, which if you don't have tools and you don't have the experience is going to be something that may be an annoyance to you because you'll have to take it to an actual gun shop or a gunsmith and have them kind of recenter those sights. Now, with that said, I really, you know, that's just kind of two little things I have noticed. So maybe build quality here and there, you know, might need to be looked at, I guess, in some aspect. But overall, it's not been anything major. It's not been anything I couldn't fix myself. It's just kind of the little annoyances here and there. So definitely give yours a good once over. Make sure, you know, the sights are lined up, all those little things, the pins are kind of centered, all that good stuff. But other than that, once you do that, you should be set up with a really nice gun. So let's talk next about the trigger in this bad boy. Now, as I mentioned, this gun was sourced with the Langdon tactical trigger job, so the trigger does have some work done to it. Everything in there is nicely fitted. It does come with a D-spring in the factory versions of this. This one actually has a reduced power spring, so this is down to 13 pounds as part of this trigger job, but your factory is going to get that D-spring, so it's going to have a nice light pull either way compared to most of your Berettas. This trigger job is just absolutely fantastic. It has been phenomenal, and it's probably one of the best triggers that I have felt as far as a hammer gun goes. It is just really, really, really good. So we'll kind of go through that. We'll just kind of show this. Berettas, you do not have that quarter cock position. It's going to be directly from all the way forward on that trigger. In double action, this is just super duper smooth and super duper easy. As you guys see, basically no movement in that muzzle end as I kind of go through this. Single action, nice and light. It's also got a very, very crisp trigger, so you're going to be a little bit of slack to take up as you guys see that firing pin safety block getting moved out of the way. Once you're back to that wall, you just kind of stage on the wall and just a little bit of weight, go ahead and pull it through. Now on my trigger gauge, we're looking at about 8 pounds double action and just under 4 pounds single action. So really, really nice, still serviceable trigger, very, very smooth. Reset as most 92s, nice and short and crisp, and you can just kind of feel it and hear it. Overall, just a fantastic trigger and a very, very easy gun to shoot very well. If you're going to get one of these, I would highly recommend going through Langdon Tactical and getting it with the trigger job. If not, go ahead and get the trigger job in a bag and just have somebody drop it in if you're not competent on putting that in these guns. But it makes a world of difference. And you know, some of the newer Berettas have triggers that aren't really that bad out of the factory. But with those additional parts and that additional trigger job, it really, really wakes this gun up. So I would highly recommend doing that if you're looking into this gun. All right, last, let's take a look at some comparisons. So we have the Langdon Tactical here, the Elite LTT. We'll take a look with that compared to the Beretta M9A3. Now, I am a fan of the Beretta M9A3. You got that nice kind of, you know, Vertec grip here, so nice and kind of thin, a little bit more controllability than you're going to get out of the wider grip, especially for most people that have smaller hands. Very, very nicely put together gun. And as you notice, I did change the sights out on this, which is kind of my only complaint. So a lot of people will be comparing the M9A3 to the Elite LTT because they're kind of in that same price bracket and saying, you know, which one should I get? And really what it comes down to is if you have a suppressor. If you like shooting suppressed, this has all the goodies out of the box. You don't have to get a new barrel. You don't have to do anything like that. You may have to change your sights. There's really nothing I can tell you there. You're going to have to change it to some suppressor-height sights. But other than that, it's got the barrel, it's got all the stuff set up. It's a little more of that kind of tactical look, especially if you get the FDE model. So that's kind of my advice there. They're both very, very good guns. Overall, if you're just a fan of the 92, if you're looking for the apex of the 92 series, I would go with the Langdon Tactical. So looking at them side by side here, basically everything, like I say, the slides are the same. These are actually both G models, both the Cocker versions, but you're going to see that big difference in the barrel there. If you like to carry, that barrel may be a little bit of a hindrance to you. Other than that, the grip is going to be different. If you have smaller hands, you may want to take a look or at least get this in your hands here and kind of feel the grip on these Vertex, because it is much more manageable if you have smaller hands. Other than that, it's, there's really not a whole lot of additions. You do have kind of the extended controls and all that kind of stuff, the flared mag well, so kind of one and the same on this M9A3. But overall, like I say, I think the addition of the grips, the optional trigger job there that I mentioned, the factory target sights, all that kind of stuff. If you're looking at competition shooting, this, in my opinion, is the way to go. You're really not going to go wrong with either one, but I would just kind of lean heavier toward this for competition shooting. All right, guys, lastly, let's put all these big bad Berettas on the scale and see if there's a difference in weight between these guns. As you might know, the 92 is considered to be a pretty heavy, pretty large service size gun. There's really no way around it. These have aluminum frames, they have steel slides, they're all metal. You might get some plastic triggers here and there, but for the most part, all of the functional pieces are metal in these guns. They don't really have anything in the way of weight savings. There has not been a Beretta introduced that's been, traditionally very light. There's just no way around it. It's just one of those quirks you got to learn to live with. And that also goes for the Beretta Compacts. They're very heavy guns as far as the size goes. So makes them shoot very easy, makes them very easy to control recoil. Maybe not so fun to carry depending on your carry setup. So let's take a look at the weights. We're looking at the M9 first, and these are all unloaded with an inserted empty magazine in them. So Beretta M9. We're looking at 2 pound, 1.5 ounces for the traditional M9. The M9A3 next. 2 pounds, 1.2 ounces. And finally, the LTT Elite. 2 pounds, 2.8 ounces. So they're all basically in that same ballpark there. You're not going to get any weight savings or anything like that. And they also didn't really add any weight, even though this is kind of a target gun. There's nothing to this gun as far as a Brigadier slide or anything like that that's going to add a whole lot of weight and make it any more manageable. So like I say with the shooting impressions, it feels like shooting a Beretta 92. They're kind of unique in that, and they all kind of feel the same. But if you haven't shot one, go out there and shoot one. You'll see what I'm talking about. Recoil impulse is very controllable. Trigger in this is just phenomenal. Accuracy off the charts. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. What do I think of the LTT Elite overall? Well, it's now my favorite gun, which is kind of hard to say because I've got a lot of guns I really like. But this is just a fantastic gun to shoot. It's awesome to look at. I like the way the 92s look. It's just an awesome gun. And for the price point, being basically the same as one of these, or the fact that the M9s come in around $600 as they are, which leaves a lot to be desired. For the price point, I really just don't think you can go wrong. So if you're a Beretta fan, if you're looking for your first Beretta, if you're just wanting a nice hammer-fired gun, I would recommend getting your hands on one of these bad boys. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Jay Helmsing, as always, remember to like, subscribe, and comment if you like these videos, and I'll keep them coming at you. Until next time, remember to continue to go learn, continue to practice, and continue to build and hone your craft.